The planning conversation starts here on the Income Protection Podcast. Here's your host, Mike Cogdall and Grayson Owen.
Mike, we're back. How's everything going for you down in Florida, man?
Grayson, good morning. How the heck are you? Let me ask you first. What's happening in Savannah, Georgia?
Not too much. You know, as I said on the last episode, school's back, so we're ready for fall. We've actually had some cooler morning temps rolling in, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, everything's good in Savannah. How about everything in Florida?
I was just going to say, you get the same thing I get. We've had 2 days of like 72 degrees in the morning and no humidity, and people are going, "This is only August. What's going on?" I mean, it's so funny. Every now and then you do get a reprieve, unlike, the whatever you call that big giant dust storm in Phoenix and in Arizona. We get good weather. Somebody else is just getting totally torched. And unfortunately, we have torched, I think, in Napa right now, too. I mean, it's just, the world is just, not to talk about weather all the time, because we all do. And we're all meteorologists now, right? Because we have a phone. But at the end of the day, my friend, we spend so much time talking about stuff like this, like weather and what's going on in the world and current events and this, that, the next thing. And let's just do that today. And by the way, I'm good. School's in, family's busy, so we're all good. As you know, I gave a long dissertation on the old vacation last time. I think everybody heard way too much of my vacation, but sorry about that. I was just really happy to get to do it. That being said, let's just continue down this path of today about, we did social media just a couple of weeks ago, where it is, how it's going, what we think. We'll tie all this into income protection. So, if you're listening, keep listening, because it's going to get there. But let's just talk about a couple of current events that you mentioned to me earlier before we went on the air. And let's just talk about how we think about what's going on, and, for lack of a better term, and where we're headed in this great world we live in, because it's a good world. Trust me.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
I know while you were on the road at the end of July, we had the honor and privilege of presenting to the International DI Society members for their July study group. And really, we talked about some DI solutions on the call, but the purpose of the call was really to talk about marketing strategies that we think would work for the industry, whether you're a carrier, BGA, wholesaler, or a producer. And so we shared a lot of that. And shout out to the marketing guru or marketing oracle, Gary Vaynerchuk. He really coined this being an attention game nowadays. And it really is. Everybody's scrolling. They're on social media. They're seeing so many different things. A variety of things are coming into view when you're scrolling. And so you really only have a split second to catch somebody's attention, like your ideal customer's attention. And so I couldn't help but think, over the last couple of weeks, we had the two biggest stirs that I've seen on social media. I'm not going to get into the details on any of this. We had the Cracker Barrel logo change, and then they backtracked. So that was number one, and that caused a huge stir. Lots of memes going on social media, on LinkedIn. And then this past week, the announcement of Taylor Swift's engagement. And shout out to Taylor. She's a great songwriter. My point of bringing these up is that the average working American, if they're on social media this week, they probably spent time, maybe several minutes, maybe even hours, learning about the Cracker Barrel logo change, or figuring out all the details around the Taylor Swift engagement, which apparently happened weeks ago and it's just getting announced. And so even I know that because I read an article about it. So even I spent time reading about that, right? So we go back to this attention game that we're in with social media and everything. And think of all these working Americans that spent time learning about these things, but they haven't spent a single minute in the last year, 5 years, or maybe ever in their life making sure that their long-term disability coverage is current and up to date, as you say, Mike. So that just got me thinking, what are we doing here in the DI industry to grab more attention so that consumers and our ideal customers are thinking about this important coverage?
Well, in our world, for me, let me back up. The answer is I don't know, not for sure. I've always said that if disability insurance were free, everybody would have it. But we can't post something that said this week only it's free, because I can't live up to that promise, which is not a guarantee. So that's never going to happen. One time only kind of stuff isn't going to happen. But let's continue down that path. It's funny that you bring this up today, because I do have a couple of stats that without talking to you, got on my own. And I think it goes down the lines of social media and where we are today and attention span. And here, I'll grab my quick readers. They're just readers, $5 at Costco or Amazon if you need a pair of really cool ones. The iPhone came out January 8th of 2007. So I think I have the date correct, 2007. So I decided, you know what, that's kind of where the whole world started. Not started from the beginning of time. I'm talking about taking, we're now past email. We're Facebooking and stuff, but now we're past just sending emails instead of faxes. We're into a whole new world, and I just use 2007 as like, oh, here we go. But anyway, that being said, in 2007, we have the iPhone. In the year 2007, as best I could get, and it's hard to get some of this data because it's old, the individual disability insurance industry as a whole sold $545 million worth of disability insurance. Keep that number in your head. Easy. Let's fast forward. I don't have 25 numbers, obviously, because we're not done. So in 2024, individual disability insurance sold. What would you guess the number is? It was 545 in 2007. So what was the number, would you guess, in 2024? I hope you guess right.
I won't be able to guess it exactly, but we did go through these LIMRA numbers earlier in the year on another podcast episode. So it's safe to say I know that it's lower than that figure you quoted for 2007.
Correct. It's 478, a difference of 67 million. Big number. I think it's a big number. What I found more interesting is I decided, well, let's talk about workforce population during that same period of time, because workforce populations is the group that should own individual disability insurance. Again, you and I say this constantly. Not everybody can do it. I understand that there's a multitude of reasons not everybody can do it. I personally think everybody should do something of some way, even if it's a critical illness. I should backtrack a little. Affordability factor, even if it was critical illness, that is better than having absolutely nothing at all, because things do happen. As you know, just was in North Carolina a week ago and lost another dear friend who's an DI industry guy for 50 years plus, got tired one day playing golf, wasn't feeling great, goes to the doctor. And let me just fast forward. In a very short amount of time, he went from being diagnosed after a CAT scan with pancreatic cancer to CAT scan 2. It's everywhere in the body. And 20 days later, he passed. Totally unexpected for the family. And my condolences if they ever listen, because they are in the industry. My condolences to the family. And it's just really hard to do that. To go deal with that constantly. And I know I say these things a lot, probably more than I should, but when I posted on Instagram, here was my quote that day for a Cogism. I didn't see that one coming. Not when I got the phone call from his son. I didn't see it coming. So this is the world we live in. And, everybody can tell me I can tell you what kind of dress Taylor Swift wore for her engagement. It was Ralph Lauren, and he was also dressed in Ralph Lauren. Why do I need to know that? It's awesome. It's good. But again, attention span and paying attention. I couldn't turn on national news, legacy news, CBS, ABC, or NBC, and not get more of a 5-minute story on those two people. And I'm happy for both of them. That's fine. Than really what's going on in the world, to include a couple of wars and other things. So about putting things in perspective and focus, it's interesting to me, because if you take the workforce population in 2007, it was 196 million. Today, fast forward to 2024, most recent number, it's like 240 million or so. It's 50, 60 million bigger. And these numbers could be off, because I've already learned that even AI can be wrong a lot.
If the individual disability insurance sales have gone down over almost 20 years, the population and workforce are growing, plus wages are growing as well, right?
Correct.
So that's even more insane. That means that there's more insurable income with less policies being sold. That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. And even if the numbers aren't 100% accurate, they don't need to be. The point that you just made with me throwing out these numbers is absolutely correct. Why has that changed so much in that period of time? No industry, and I hate to say this, who would really want to continue to do something that sees that kind of growth? That's not the word. That is not up and to the right.
It's not up and to the right. I would say this, back to your original statistic or date that you threw out there, is the iPhone came out in January 2007, as you said. It's got something to do with the industry not keeping up with how people are engaging and learning and also searching for this information. So we know Google and YouTube's owned by Google, but they're the biggest search engines, right? And
Absolutely.
there's not that much information on YouTube about individual disability insurance. I mean, if you go look for it, you can find it. Doctor and dental space, there's more than anyone else for sure. We know that, but there's just not enough individuals from the industry putting in time on those platforms. And we talk about LinkedIn. I know you talk about Instagram. A lot of producers I know do some stuff on Facebook or Meta. So, I just think there's more to be done in our industry to help with this awareness problem that we talk about so often. And it is, and as I've said before, this is something that could be fixed with an advertising 101 textbook to some extent. But even if we don't go down the road of having commercials, that the carriers run, which some carriers have done before, but even if we don't go down that road and all the marketing and everything needs to be done by the producer, there's a lot more that can be done. That's the other bottom line here. So if we want to grow this, we definitely need everybody from the carriers, the BGAs, and the producer level working together to kind of solve the riddle here.
Well, some of the things about social media and the world we live in today are phenomenal. The fact that my daughter has started school in Baltimore and then moved to Colorado, subsequently moved here, 3 different places, and she's only a junior in high school, still has very dear friends from the other 2 places because they can talk and see each other and stay in touch. My age, you don't even want to talk about it. If I wanted to make a long distance call, my parents would say you can only do it for 5 minutes at best, and it was on a rotary phone. So I date myself. Or if I want to talk to a friend of mine that I met at a camp in the summer who only lived 5 hours away in southeast Iowa, true story, and I lived in North Central and we were basketball buddies, I'd have to write him a letter to see how he was doing. And believe it or not, he would write back. My point is, if you start thinking about now, if we can help any producer out there, or if you ever listen to this and you're not in the insurance industry, but are listening about disability insurance by happenstance for 20 minutes, or you want to hear about the weather in Savannah or Florida, if you will, for the first 2 minutes, that's fine. My point is why not every now and then think about what's old is new again, and think about your social network, your geographic territory in which you live, vis-a-vis Savannah, Walton County, Florida, Denver, Colorado, Baltimore, Maryland. It matters not where you live. Think about the people that you encounter as a financial services professional. And my suggestion today is, first, go to your clients. Every client that you have, and I always use this like under age 55. Let's just make up any age, but let's use 55 or under. Take the time, and I know it's probably not going to happen, but it's not a bad suggestion. Write down all the people that are clients of yours that don't own disability insurance. There's a book, Atomic Habits, whatever. Write down all the people that you know personally as clients, and maybe you do just AUM. That's fine. We'll get to that in a second. But everyone you don't know, and make a conscious effort to talk to them about disability insurance in one way or another. And if you're not sure how to do it, feel free to reach out to you or I. If you don't have our numbers, you can find us really easy. It's Grayson Owen and Mike Cogdall, and we can help you do that. Because if you don't want to do it, we also have talked extensively about broker, and all that means is some disability insurance professional. And in my world, I call them super professionals, like all-stars. They're that good at what they do because it's all they focus on. Let them work with you to make sure that your client can still be taken care of. And I'm not talking about somebody that's across the country that you know from a Zoom and just an initial contact. I'm talking about all your clients that you personally know well, like physically see them on occasion. And maybe it's even somebody that you see 4 times a year and go on vacation together and you don't live in the same geographic region. I've always said, tell them what this is in 5 or 10 minutes and then step back and give them the opportunity to say yes. We've done, I don't know how many podcasts, and we almost always give a sales idea of some kind. And I call it a sales idea. It should really be a coaching tactic is probably a better term, meaning get somebody to modify their behavior to listen to what you're saying. And with that being said, again, if you're not sure how to do it, we would be more than happy to help in any way we can, because our mission is not done. Our mission is not even really begun. I mean, we work so hard. And when I look at these numbers today, And, I thank AI because it makes my numbers easy. I don't have to go look for data. It can just show up on my phone in a nanosecond. So I, too, am a swiper. I'm a consumer of product, of everything else. But if we can spend this much time on a logo at a truck stop, and I call Cracker Barrel's truck stops, it's fine. Oh, by the way, I'm the only American, and I'm going to get this fixed or remedied that's never eaten in a Cracker Barrel. Not sure why. Don't even have a reason. But I can guarantee you after all I've seen, I will now. So it did work for Mike Cogdall. That being said, and because I have a couple of daughters that are great kids, you have a pile of kids yourself. We listen to Taylor Swift, and I do agree she's a pretty good songwriter. But if we can know that much about other people's lives and we don't stop and reflect on what is the most important thing to me, my family and myself, I could be single. I'm pretty important to me too, I hope. And the only question that we have to ask ourselves is what if? What do you think? Go make a list, and if somebody does actually make the list, you can feel free to give me a call at 303-638-0666 and tell me how big your list is and what happened after you accomplished the task at hand. And I'm hoping people have anywhere from 5 to 50 people, maybe 100 that they know. That means they just haven't done it, because remember, your client, we say this over and over, doesn't have any inkling that individual disability insurance exists, income protection, paycheck insurance. I don't care what you call it. And without awareness, how can you know to buy? Or how can you know to even have the opportunity to take care of you, yourself, your family, your loved ones, or whoever you think is important in your world? Specifically you. You are pretty important. Charity starts at home, as I've always said. What do you think about that?
I think that's very well said, Mike. I appreciate you sharing your insights on that. And if I had to guess, it's possible that more people that are working Americans in the United States know about the Taylor Swift engagement than know about individual disability insurance as a product.
Now, I've got to call into Taylor to maybe one of her interviews or concerts, tell everybody to buy income protection. It'd be good for them and their family because, it's really important. But I haven't heard back yet. If I do, on a future podcast, I'll let you know, but fairly confident that's not going to happen, my friend.
I don't think our podcast can afford that invoice for the testimonial or an advertising endorsement from Taylor.
Right. On top of everything else, besides being a prolific entertainer, one heck of a business person too. So anyway, Shout out to all of that, but still think about that. We know more about that than we do about our own personal finance and what it takes to run a family. Because you've always heard me say, you know what, you work for a reason. And whether you work for a company or a business, it's still your way to earn a living. And I've said it 1,000 times. What it does is you've got two businesses. They both run off P&Ls. One does one thing and the other does the other. The one that generates revenue does it every day. And all the other one does is suck revenue. It takes it. Yep. And so without one, how can the other exist? I leave you with that thought.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that for sure. My household spends a lot of money. So there you go. Everything runs on income. So it's important that we protect it. So, well, with that said, Mike, I think we'll end it here today.
Hey, it's always great being with you, Grayson. Have a wonderful weekend and go sell some insurance, my friend. And remember, financial planning starts with a risk protection package first.
And your clients are counting on you. See you on the show next time.
All right, my friend. Be well.